Hi, my name is Don Milton, and I've been a full-time life coach for over 13 years since January 2005. Uh, I got into this as a result of spending so much time and money and energy on my own healing and growth and learning. And then I finally realized that, I had to learn a lot of things that most people probably would never find out about. And I enjoy sharing with people that are interested in learning new things that make their life better. So you can find out more about me and my work at www.donmilton.net. There's a lot of tools and techniques that I use in my work with people. And my favorite thing to do is a 12-week life transformational program that I have that literally, I've done that with over 100 people, and it literally transforms your life. It pretty much clears out all your emotional baggage from the past, gives you new ways of thinking and understanding life and new tools and techniques going forward to not create more baggage going forward. And it's just an amazing experience. I love working with people at that level. So one of uh, the basic four techniques that I use in my work is emotional freedom technique, or EFT, Tapas acupressure technique, or TAT, matrix reimprinting, and the Byron Katie work. And when I'm working with people in the 12-week program, I use all those tools. Plus, I teach them about meditating, journaling, the value of reading certain types of books, and lots of other stuff. So today, there's a lot of EFT has been around for about 25 years. There's a lot of information on YouTube, on the internet. It's all out there. It's an amazingly simple technique to learn and to start using the basics, but it's also something that's sort of like a violin or the piano or golf or anything. You can learn the basics, in a pretty short time, but you can spend a lifetime refining it and, getting into the different nuances of it. So, one thing I've noticed in a lot of the YouTube videos is that people just focus on, you got some kind of problem and you tap and all that. And some of them are good, and a lot of them miss the essence of what you need to do to have EFT work properly. So in this video, I'm basically going to share what I see as the essence of basic EFT and how to use it properly, and talk about how to use it for a variety of different issues. Uh, Emotions, any type of emotion, pain, any kind of chronic physical pain or acute physical pain, phobias, food cravings, tobacco addiction, depression, and surrogate tapping. You don't really want to get into surrogate tapping until you are pretty comfortable with doing it for yourself. And surrogate tapping, I'll talk about it more near the end, but it's basically where you tune in to an issue of either another person or an animal, and you do the surrogate basically means you're doing something in place of someone else or for someone else. So you basically pretend you're that person or animal, and yeah, it works amazingly well for animals. Uh, but and then you tap on yourself, and then that person or animal gets the benefits. So with EFT, to use it properly, you have to focus on a specific event and a specific emotion related to that event. For instance, if say you're angry a lot, well, you don't just, uh, before I get into that, I guess I'm going to assume that anyone watching this video knows nothing about EFT. And of course, there will be people that come across it that know various amounts, but I'm going to just assume you know nothing. So basically, it's a technique where you use your fingertips to tap on certain meridian points or energy points on your body while you're focused on a specific event and an emotion. And quite often, you be surprised, even for beginners, you can get results pretty quickly. Now, of course, a professional is going to get a lot better results than a beginner. So the purpose of this video is to give you enough information to where you will have a high likelihood of some success on some issues. So, you'll be willing to explore it more, because it is an amazing technique and tool. And I think every person in it and someone in every family should know how to do it. I mean, I've had kids as little as 3 and 4 use it. I've had people in their 80s and 90s use it. So it's something you can do anywhere with no special equipment or tools or techniques. You basically just use your fingertips. And I always tell people to use their dominant hand, like I'm right-handed. So I'll show you how I do it, the basic process with my right hand. So this is called the karate chop point, or side of the hand. This is where you start, and then between your eyes, beside your eye, just right there, not too far back, but right there, on the bone right under your eye, under your nose, under your chin, collarbone point on either the left or the right, sort of where a man would knot his tie, and then down an inch and over an inch, either way. Then under the arm, it's actually on the side of your body, about 4 inches below your armpit, and then top of your head. So those are the basic points. I'll go through them kind of quickly without talking about them, and then I'm going to show you how to use this technique for a lot of different issues. And really, after you've done this a few times, you get the hang of it. This is what most professionals use, and I teach to clients, is the short version of EFT. There's a lot of other points, like on your fingertips, on your wrist, and different places, but 95% of the time you can do well with these points. And so we're going to start off talking about how to use basic EFT for emotions. And I'm going to, I'll just use anxiety since that's common, but you can replace any emotion and use the same process. So first of all, what you do is you think about a specific event that you feel anxious about. Now, generally, if you have an event, and this could be something that happened today or last week or 20 years ago, it doesn't really matter, because what happens with emotions is that over the years, we have different emotions, different things happen, and we don't deal with them. We don't clear them out of our subconscious, out of our physical system, and they're just kind of hanging out. And that's why, in my opinion, people are carrying lots of emotional baggage. So we overreact, like, say I've had a lot of anxiety in my life, and then something happens, and I'm overly anxious about that specific thing, because I've got all this backup of anxiety from all these other hundreds or thousands of things. So with EFT, as you start clearing off past emotional baggage, then you don't react so much to new events that happen. Okay, so you have to pick a specific event, like the time when when I was in sophomore in college, and I had this big paper due, and it was 2 days before it was due, and I was just halfway through. And, all right, so you write down the event. You write it on a piece of paper, term paper, deadline, wasn't prepared. Then you write down, generally when you have one event, you'll have more than one emotion. So you write down whatever emotions you have, and then you number them. In EFT, you go from 1 to 10, till that rates the intensity of that emotion. So you write down the emotion, say like in this case, anxiety, maybe a 9, and you write down the number that when you're thinking about it now, how you feel just thinking about it. So anxiety, a 9. Say disappointment, a 7. Upset, a 6. Angry, whatever whatever emotions you have related to that event, write them down, put a number on it. And then you always start with the emotion that has the highest number. If there's two emotions that have the same number, then just pick out one that goes with you. Now, don't get too concerned about the language. A lot of people, when they work with professionals, particularly professionals that have been doing it a while and are very in tune with their intuition, they just end up saying things that the person might not think about. And quite often, it's just amazing how accurate it is. And people say, how'd you know to say that? How do I do that? Don't worry about that. The more you do EFT, the more you will tap in to that intuition. And as you're tapping, stuff will come to you to say. So just say whatever comes to you. But here in the beginning, I'm just going to give you a basic formula. Okay. So let's say that that we've got uh, anxiety is the highest one. So this is called the setup. And on the setup, you're basically acknowledging the problem 3 times, and then you're saying something positive. And this is different than affirmations. And just don't try to figure all this out. The purpose of this video is so you can just listen to the video and start using it right away. So that would encourage you to do that. Start using it for any of these things that I'm going to talk about. And, if you start getting some results and you get interested, there's a ton of information on my website and on the internet and YouTube. You can explore it and research. There's all kind of research papers, at scientific explanations. There's all kind of stuff out there. But to me, the experience is worth more than a lot of work talking about it or seeing other people do it. So have your experience and then go as deep as you want with it. All right, so my anxiety is at a 9, and so here's how we do it. Even though I have this anxiety, I love and accept myself. Even though I have this anxiety, I'm a good person. Even though I have this anxiety, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. Now, in the beginning, you can just, use this. And as you get into it, you'll think of things yourself. Okay. This is called the reminder part. This anxiety, 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 this anxiety. Okay, now you go check. You focus on your anxiety, and a number will come to you. As soon as you look at the anxiety, then a number will come to you just like that. Go with that number. Don't try to overanalyze it. And if EFT is working properly, the numbers go down in, sort of quantum, like you might go from a 9 to a 6, or a 6 to 2, 2 to 0. Now, if you don't change, that's okay. Just, do it again. And what you do, you go with each, even though you were tapping on anxiety, you had several other emotions related to this event. And quite often when you're tapping on one thing, you'll get relief on other ones. So you go check each of them. Say anxiety, maybe it's a 6, anger, whatever it is, disappointment, whatever it is. And then go another round, pick out the top one. And if you're doing the one you've already done, you change your wording a little bit. Even though I still have some of this anxiety, I'm a good person. Even though I still have some of this anxiety, I love and accept myself. Even though I still have some of this anxiety, I'm okay. Remaining anxiety, 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 remaining as anxiety. And then, you check again. And while you're tapping, sometimes an emotion may go up. Usually it goes down. But if it goes up, what that means is when you were tuning into it, that you weren't totally focused on it. And by tapping, it brought it up a little more. Sometimes while you're tapping on, after you've made your list of emotions, and you start tapping, you'll think of some other emotion that you didn't think about in the beginning. So you just write that down, put a number on it. So what you do, and this whole thing, once you get the hang of it, just takes a couple of minutes. I mean, it's not uncommon to go from a 9 to a 0 in one round. I mean, probably more often you'll go from like a 9 to 5 to a 2 to a 0 or something like that. So I'd say, once you get down to a 2 or below, move on to something else. So that's how you use it, and you can use it as often as you want to. And the more you do EFT, uh, the more benefit you get from it, the more relaxed you feel, the more focused you get. I mean, it has a lot of benefits aside from just removing the emotions. All right, so that's how you use it for any emotion, anger, anxiety, sadness, grief, whatever. Or sometimes you might just be feeling kind of yucky or something, but you can't put a name on it. Tap on that, even though I'm feeling out of balance or whatever it is. EFT has no negative side effects, and you can't do it wrong. I mean, you certainly can be more proficient as you go along, but the worst thing that happens is nothing. All right, so that's how you use it for emotions. And some of these other ones, I mean, I've taken a fair amount of time here to deal with this on emotions. I'm going to move a little quicker through these other ones because it's sort of a similar process. So let's go to pain next. It doesn't matter what kind of pain it is, but just so whatever pain it is, that's what you focus on initially. So let's say I have a headache, and I've used this successfully with people that have had bad migraines for years or decades, and after a few sessions, they don't have migraines anymore. It's very interesting. Here again, EFT, don't expect it to work for everything or 100% for everything, but it works so well so often, and it's so easy that it's worth knowing. All right, so let's say I have a headache. So here again, you rate the intensity of your headache and wherever it's located. Say your headache is on the right side of your head. So and let's say your headache's at an 8 level of pain. So here we go. Again, you acknowledge the pain. Even though I've had this headache on the right side of my head, I love and accept myself. Even though I have this headache on the right side of my head, I'm a good person. Even though I have this headache on the right side of my head, I love and accept myself. This headache, 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 this headache. All right, now you check in. Did the pain go down or up? Did it move? Quite often when you're dealing with physical pain, it may go down and it may move. So if it moves or if it changes, let's say it goes down to a 5, from an 8 to a 5, and it moves to the center of your head. So even though I have this remaining headache, I love and accept myself. Even though I have this remaining headache, I'm a good person. Even though I have this remaining headache, I deeply and completely accept myself. Remaining headache, 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 remaining headache. And you just keep doing that until, it gets down to a 2 or below. Now, if it's not on any of this stuff, if you're not getting results, don't worry about it. You haven't lost anything. Now, sometimes when you're dealing with pain, the pain won't be going down. Well, then you shift to focus on emotions. How do you feel about that headache? Okay, so if you're feeling frustrated or anxious or angry or hopeless or whatever you're feeling, then you go back to using it, like tap on those emotions. So with physical pain, you start off with the pain, and if it's not going anywhere, you shift to the emotions and you just keep playing with it. Okay, phobias. EFT works great for phobias. One of the guys that developed a technique called thought field therapy back in the 80s, which was a precursor to EFT, emotional freedom technique, he came out with he started using it. He was a Roger Callahan, he was a uh, psychologist. He was a PhD psychologist. And when he started developing these techniques, he actually started with phobias was the first thing he started working on. And the experts, evidently in the field of mental health, tell you you cannot cure a phobia, you can just manage it better. Well, he found out that he could actually cure phobias. So basically, with the phobia, you just focus on, let's say your phobia, uh, and phobias can be a little more complicated and take a little more work, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyhow just to see what results you might get. Let's say you have a fear of heights. Okay, with phobia, the best way to deal with it is when you're in the situation. Like if you have a fear of heights, if you're up in a high place and you have that fear, that's the best time to tap on it. But that's not practical in a lot of situations. And sometimes people have such a fear that they're too afraid to put themselves in that situation. So what you do with phobias is you just close your eyes and you put yourself mentally in a situation. Say you're afraid of heights, and even say climbing an 8-foot ladder, a 10-foot ladder. So you just think about some situation that creates that fear, that phobic reaction, and then you write down whatever your feelings you have about it, and then you number them and you tap on them. Let's just say, like, I have a fear of heights. Okay, so write down the aspects, like I'm afraid I might fall, I get dizzy, uh, it's not safe, whatever, whatever feelings you have. Or if it's just a fear of heights, and say your fear of heights is an 8, then you go like this. Even though I'm afraid of heights, I love and accept myself. Even though I'm afraid of heights, I'm okay. Even though I'm afraid of heights, I'm a good person. Fear of heights, 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 fear of heights. And then you just keep going. And if other stuff comes up, other thoughts about heights, just keep tapping on that. And, it's amazing how good or quick results you can get with just basic EFT as a beginner. Now, the best way, like I said, or even if you say, get it down on this fear of heights, it gets down to 0. And you think, well, I'm done. Well, next time you get in a situation where you're in a high place, something may come up, some aspect of heights may come up that you didn't think about when you were just mentally thinking about it. So you just tap on that. You tap, and you don't even have to say any words if you're in the situation. You just tap on it. You go through the process. So you can use this for any phobia. I've used it for many phobias: fear of driving on the interstate, fear of speaking, fear of heights, fear of spiders, fear of snakes, um, fear of leaving the house. I mean, it's just amazing that I looked up a list of phobias one time, and I don't know, it's maybe 100 or more. It's just things you wouldn't even think about. All right, so that's phobias. Now I'm kind of going to talk about food cravings and tobacco cravings at the same time, because it's very similar. They're basically craving for a substance. And actually, EFT and some other techniques that I use work amazingly well for addictions. I mean, of course, tobacco is a type of addiction and food craving is a type of addiction, but I'm talking about cocaine, alcohol, pornography, gambling, what I would call larger addictions. I wouldn't suggest trying to do that on your own. You're probably going to need professional help with that. But for food cravings and tobacco cravings, whether it be smoking or chewing tobacco, it works amazingly well. So with that, what you do, it's best to have your substance in front of you. Let's say with food, let's say you crave brownies. All right, so get a brownie when you have a real craving for it. Have a brownie in front of you. Smell it. Don't taste it, but just smell it, look at it, and bring that craving for the brownie up as high as you can. Sometimes just thinking about it will bring it up high. And if you don't have something in front of you, your substance in front of you, you can do it thinking about it, but it's really easy. I mean, because if you have a craving for something, you're going to have it around quite often. So with the food craving or the tobacco, I want you to have that right in front of you. If it's a cigarette, a cigar, chewing tobacco, have it right there so you can look at it, you can smell it, and you really want to bring that craving to have it up as high as you can. So let's say, for purposes of this demo, that it's a brownie, and let's say your craving is a 10. So you just put your brownie down. Even though I really want this brownie, I love and accept myself. Even though I really want this brownie, I'm a good person. Even though I really want this brownie, I'm okay. Craving for this brownie, brownie craving. Really want this brownie, really want this brownie, really want it. It'll be so good. I just love this brownie. Got to have this brownie. And check and see where you are. See if it goes down. Quite often it'll drop a bit. And let's say it goes to a 6. Even though I still want this brownie, I love and accept myself. Even though I still want this brownie, I'm a good person. Even though I still want this brownie, I deeply and completely forgive myself. Remaining brownie desire, 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 remaining brownie desire. So you just keep going with it until you get down to, a 0 or 1. Now, once you get down low, first of all, you're going to be kind of amazed at how quickly your desire changes. And then once you get down to where you don't have any desire for it, then I want you to pick it up again and smell it. Now, this is really kind of amazing. Once you've done the tapping, quite often the thing doesn't even smell good anymore. You just don't want it. It feels, whereas you just really desired it 5 minutes ago, now it's like, ooh, I don't even want that. Well, then take a bite of it. Okay. I- I'm telling you, I've done this many, many times with people on the many substances, and it sounds weird, but quite often it doesn't even taste good. So when you get to food cravings, it's not about willpower or discipline, and it's not about that you're never going to want it again, but basically it gives you freedom. It gives you emotional freedom towards that object, whether it's a food or a tobacco product. And then, while you're tapping on it, if any other emotional feelings come up, whatever comes up that's of a negative nature, tap on it. And like I say, once you get the hang of this, uh, it goes pretty quickly. I mean, I've seen people go from a 10 to a 0 on a food craving that they've had for decades, like in 5 or 10 minutes. And then 6 months later, they're still not wanting it. And that's another question people often ask about EFT, using it on different issues. Does it last? Well, yeah, my experience is that if you really clear all aspects of the issue, that it's a permanent deal. But have your own experience. Okay, so two other things. One is depression, which I don't really, and here again, I think if you're dealing with something like depression, you're probably going to be better off dealing with a professional because there's so many different pieces to it. But I'm going to give you just a general thing you can do with depression. Now, I personally don't consider depression an emotion of itself. My experience is when I work with people that have depression, whether it's situational depression or just long-term chronic depression, is generally I go with the underlying emotions. And quite often there's anger, there's sadness, there's guilt, there's low self-esteem, there's a feeling of hopelessness. So with depression, just take a look at what your underlying thoughts about being in the situation and start tapping on those one at a time and see what happens. Uh, the last thing I want to talk about is, and here again, don't even try to use this until you've gotten pretty good uh, doing EFT for yourself, but it's surrogate tapping. And it's really good for people that, and here again, when you're doing surrogate tapping, or most of my clients, uh, I work with by phone or Skype. So you don't have to see the person. You don't even have to hear the person, really, is what I'm going to talk to you about surrogate tapping. Is a type of energy work, and energy energy healing is no different than any other energy, like say satellites or phones or radios or TV, where you have events somewhere else that you can watch in your living room, or you can, I can get on Skype and talk to someone in Japan. It's the way the energy works. So with EFT, let's say that I've got a friend that I live in Alabama, and I have a friend in California, and for some reason it's not convenient to show them how to tap or whatever, but they've got some problem. Well, you basically say they have anxiety. Then you basically just take a moment, think about your friend, sort of tune in to how that might feel with them having anxiety, and then you tap on yourself as if you're them. And you just do the same thing. It's like, even though I have this anxiety, you just go through that, whether it's pain or emotion or whatever it is. And it's really good, like for animals, if you have an animal that is kind of hyper or upset about something, tune into the animal, tap on yourself as if you were that animal, or little kids that, of course, that can't tap for themselves. So just play with it. And, you're not going to, in the EFT world, they have a saying, try it on everything. And I know I've been doing this for 15, well, I was doing it full time for over 13 years and 2 years part-time prior to that. So I've been doing it 15 years. So obviously, there's a first time for everything. And I've had some things that only once. I mean, one time I had a woman uh, who had just freaked out if her hair wasn't done just right. I mean, there's some type of phobia, but that's the only time I've ever had that. I've had other things that were a one-time deal. But once you get comfortable with the basic technique and process, you just try it on everything. And I'll tell you, the more you use it, if you can get in the habit of using EFT on something for 15 or 20 minutes every day, after really after a few days, but a week, 2 weeks, a month, you'll just notice that you're feeling lighter, more relaxed, happier, that your intuition is getting better. It's something about doing this that does seem to help a person tune into their intuition. So here again, I hope this is useful to you. My original thought was that I would make this for clients of mine so that they could have something to refer to as they're learning EFT. But then I thought, what? Why not just put it out there to whoever wants it? And feel free, if you come across this, feel free to share it as you like. And I certainly hope it reaches a lot of people and does a lot of good and a lot of benefit. And if you need help, uh, feel free to contact me, donmilton.net. And I love doing this. I mean, uh, it's my business, but it's really my passion. And I'm at a stage in my life where I really don't need to work to earn money, but I love this so much and it's so useful for people that I want to share it as much and as often and with as many people as I can. So good luck with your journey.